At 4:13 in the morning, every weapon in the invasion fleet went blind. Commander Theron Vey stood on the bridge of the Sovereign Blade and watched Earth turn beneath him, blue and white and impossibly calm. Around the planet, 200 real warships drifted with their targeting systems dark. Missile locks vanished. Particle lances refused to charge. Even the bridge lights had dimmed to emergency red. Then a human woman appeared on every screen. She had blood on her cheek. One sleeve of her grey sweater was burned away. Behind her, something heavy pounded against a steel door. "You crossed 11 light years for a 6-year-old girl," she said. "You bombed 3 cities. You killed people who never knew her name." The pounding grew louder. Theron leaned toward the screen. He knew that face. Mara Vance, elementary school teacher, citizen of the North American Union, legal guardian of Subject Nia. The woman looked directly into the fleet's cameras as if she could see him. "You can still go home, Commander," she said. "You just can't take my daughter." The transmission ended. A heartbeat later, the moon opened fire. Not with weapons, with light. Thousands of buried transmitters woke across its scarred surface, flooding space with a signal older than humanity's membership in the Galactic Compact. Theron's officers screamed as dead systems came alive under someone else's command. Every real ship began turning, slowly and helplessly, away from Earth. And deep inside the Sovereign Blade, a voice Theron had not heard in 30 years whispered through the speakers. Witness recognized. He forgot how to breathe. 3 days earlier, the invasion had begun with a polite request. Mara Vance was cutting paper stars out of yellow construction sheets when the sky over Chicago filled with black ships. Her first-grade classroom faced east. 22 children pressed against the windows, arguing over whether the shapes above Lake Michigan were military aircraft, weather machines, or the opening scene of a superhero movie. The ships made no sound. They slid through the clouds like blades under skin. Mara knew exactly what they were. She put down the scissors. "Nia," she said gently, "come here, please." The smallest child in the room looked up from a picture she was drawing. Nia appeared almost human from a distance. She had dark hair, brown eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a solemn face that made adults lower their voices around her. Only the pale silver lines behind her ears revealed that she had not been born on Earth. The lines were glowing. That had never happened before. Nia walked toward Mara, clutching a red crayon. Around them, the other children continued punting at the sky. "Are those my people?" Nia asked. Mara crouched and took both her hands. "Yes." "Are they coming to visit?" "No." The classroom speakers clicked on. Instead of the principal's voice, a tone rolled through the school, low and steady. Mara had heard it only in emergency drills, shelter protocol, interior rooms, teachers secure all doors. The children went silent. Mara had taught them what to do during storms, fires, earthquakes, and active threats. She had never told them what to do when an alien empire arrived for one of their classmates. "Backpack, stay here," she said. "Pair up, hold hands. We're going to the music room." A boy named Owen raised his hand because he always raised his hand, even during emergencies. "Is this real?" "Yes." "Are we going to die?" Mara wanted to lie. Teachers lied for kind reasons all the time. "The shot would barely hurt. Your mother will be here soon." That goldfish went to live in a pond, but children heard the shape of fear even when adults hid the words. "Not if I do my job," she said. Owen lowered his hand. They moved into the hall. Outside, the largest ship stopped over the lake. It was 11 kilometers long, a dark crescent that cast a moving shadow across the city. Traffic froze. Windows flickered as power grids failed. Every phone in the school lit at once. A figure appeared on the screens. He was real, like Nia, though Asian rank had sharpened him into something severe. Silver witness lines covered both sides of his neck. A black uniform rose to his jaw. His eyes were a pale amber, nearly gold. "People of Earth," he said, "I am Lord Protector Soren Kale of the Real Continuity. You are harboring stolen state property. The being called Nia is not a child under your law. She is a vessel carrying sovereign material taken during an act of treason." Mara stopped walking. Nia's fingers tightened around hers. "Return the vessel within 1 planetary hour. No human will be harmed. Refuse, and your world will be placed under corrective occupation," the message repeated. A teacher behind Mara whispered, "Property." Mara looked down at Nia. The little girl was staring at the phone in the teacher's hand. Her witness lines had faded. "Miss Vance," she said, "what's a vessel?" Mara knelt in the crowded hallway while alarms pulsed around them. "It's what frightened people call someone when they don't want to admit she can say no." "Can I say no?" "Yes." "What if they hurt everybody?" Mara had no answer that belonged in a first-grade hallway. A thunderous crack shook the building. Children screamed. Plaster dust drifted from the ceiling, and somewhere in the school, glass shattered. Mara pulled near against her. The hour had not expired. The rill had already fired. Commander Theron Vey had objected to the warning shot. Lord Protector Kale had listened with the patience of a man waiting for a machine to finish making an unpleasant noise. They stood together on the observation deck of the Sovereign Blade as a kinetic round struck an empty industrial platform in Lake Michigan. Water rose in a white column. The shockwave rolled outward, breaking windows along the shoreline. "The humans require evidence of our resolve," Kale said. "You gave them an hour. I gave their leaders an hour. Their population requires a different message." Theron watched the water fall back toward the lake. "Our intelligence says the child is in a school 8 kilometers from the impact. Then the Guardian will understand that delay has consequences." Theron turned for the window. "My orders were retrieval with minimal loss of life." "Your orders," Kale said, "came from me." That was true in every legal sense that mattered. The real continuity had been built on obedience to memory. Their dead did not disappear. Each child was born with a biological lattice along the neck and spine, a witness organ capable of receiving preserved impressions from close relatives. Skills faded, faces blurred, but final memories endured. A parent could pass the truth of a murder to a daughter. A commander could pass the location of a hidden army to a son. A dying ruler could preserve a treaty in living flesh. The system had ended centuries of civil war. No testimony carried more authority than memory willingly given at death. It had also made certain children very valuable. Nia was the daughter of Alan Soul, former keeper of the Continuity Archives. 3 years earlier, Soul had appeared at a human embassy on the neutral world of Tanis with his 5-year-old child in his arms and a plasma wound through his chest. He had asked for asylum for Nia. He had died before explaining why. Under real law, the child belonged to the archive. Under human law, she belonged to herself. Earth refused 7 extradition requests. Human diplomats spoke of due process, personhood, and the rights of refugees. They requested access to the memory in Nia's witness organ, but the child was too young to retrieve it safely. So the Rill waited. Or Theron had believed they were waiting. "You said the vessel's memory threatens public order," Theron said. "You never told me how." Kale studied him. Curiosity is not among a commander's duties. It is when he is asked to invade a compact world. Earth has been part of the compact for 9 years. It has no fleet worthy of the name, no formal defense pact, and no appetite for war. Humans talk loudly because they have never faced a civilization capable of silencing them. Theron looked back at the planet. He had read the same reports. Humanity possessed fewer than 30 interstellar warships, most converted exploration vessels. Earth's orbital defenses were designed to break asteroids, not battle fleets. Their diplomats apologized often. Their soldiers served mainly in rescue operations. Their greatest contribution to compact security had been a treaty regulating debris removal. Yet, the humans have refused for 3 years. Not delayed, not negotiated, refused. Theron found that more unsettling than 1,000 warships. A communications officer approached. "Lord Protector, Earth has responded." Kale smiled faintly. "Put their surrender on the main display." The face that appeared belonged to President Amina Holt. She sat at a plain desk with no flags behind her. Her voice was calm. "Mia Soul is a child under the protection of Earth. We will not surrender her." Kale's smile vanished. "You mistake your position." "No," Holt said. "You mistake ours. We can occupy your planet before your outer colonies receive word of the attack." "Yes." Theron glanced at Kale. The simple agreement disturbed him more than defiance would have. "We can destroy your satellites, isolate your continents, and remove the child by force." "Yes, then why condemn millions for one alien?" President Holt leaned forward. "Because the moment we decide a child is worth less than the threat against her, we become the threat." The connection ended. Kale stared at the blank screen. Thrum felt something cold move through him. The humans knew they could not win, yet their leader had not pleaded, bluffed, or threatened. She had nearly stated the cost they had already chosen to pay. "Begin the occupation," Kale said. The first real dropships descended over military bases, communication hubs, and major government centers. Human aircraft rose to meet them and was swept from the sky within minutes. Missiles fired from the ground. Most died under electronic suppression. A few struck shields and vanished in blue light. The invasion was precise by real standards. Power stations were disabled rather than destroyed. Command centers were struck at night. Major roads were blocked by hovering armor. Kale expected organized resistance to collapse before dawn. Instead, the humans changed the meaning of resistance. In Toronto, city buses formed a moving wall to evacuate a hospital before real troops reached the district. In Nairobi, civilian drone pilots filled the sky with thousands of cheap delivery machines, forcing targeting systems to track useless objects while soldiers relocated beneath them. In Manila, fishermen used sonar buoys to map submerged real scouts and broadcast their positions to anyone listening. In Chicago, parents arrived at Mara's school from every direction. They came on foot when traffic stopped. They climbed fences. They crossed parks beneath alien patrols. Some carried weapons, but most carried nothing. They came because their children were inside. Mara watched them through a narrow window in the music room door. The children sat between instrument cases with the lights off. Another teacher had turned the room into a game, whispering questions about animals and planets to keep them quiet. Mia sat alone beside a bass drum. Mara's phone vibrated. The caller was Daniel Vance, her older brother. She answered in a whisper. "Where are you?" 2 blocks south. Roads are sealed." Daniel had left the army 9 years earlier after losing part of his left leg on a peacekeeping mission. He now designed emergency systems for the city. Mara could hear sirens and running feet behind him. "They're scanning shelters," he said. "They know she's at the school." "How long?" "Minutes. There's a maintenance tunnel under the old gym. It connects to the storm network. Flooded, probably. I have 22 kids. You can't move all of them underground. I'm not leaving them." "Mara, listen to me. The parents are here. We'll get the others out through the west side." "You take Nia." She looked through the glass at her students. "No, Mara. If I disappear with her, they'll know she's missing. They might hurt the others for information." A pause. Daniel knew she was right. "Then we give them too many missing children," he said. 10 minutes later, the fire alarm began ringing. Smoke poured from the cafeteria, thick but harmless, made by burning cooking oil in sealed pans. Parents surged toward the west entrance as teachers opened 3 emergency exits at once. Children in winter coats spilled onto the playground, mixed into groups, and changed jackets. Older students carried younger ones. Names were shouted in every direction. Real scouts appeared above the rooftops. Their scanners found 23 small bodies moving away from the building in 6 different directions. Every group had a child wearing a hat low over the ears. The soldiers divided. Mara led Nia through the gym and down a rusted ladder into black water. Daniel waited below with a flashlight and a canvas backpack. His metal prosthetic disappeared beneath the surface as he waded forward. Nia stared at him. Did the aliens do that to your leg? No, Daniel said. Humans did. She looked confused. We're still working on us, he added. The tunnel was narrow and freezing. Mara carried Nia when the water rose above the child's waist. Overhead, the city groaned beneath the invasion. Dust fell with each distant impact. After 200 meters, Nia spoke against Mara's shoulder. They should take me. Mara kept moving. If I go, they stop. You don't know that. My father said people would get hurt because of me. Daniel stopped ahead of them. When did he say that? Mara asked, assured. The last day, at the human building. He told me to remember something, but I can't. Nia touched the silver lines behind her ear. It's in there. Sometimes I dream his fear. Mara's arms tightened around her. What else do you dream? A white room, stars under glass, a voice counting children. Daniel turned. How many? Nia's face went still. All of them. A metallic shriek came from the tunnel behind them. A real probe unfolded from the darkness, 6 jointed limbs gripping the walls. Its blue sensor fixed on Nia. Daniel pushed Mara aside as a pulse of energy struck the water. The current threw him backward. He hit the wall and vanished beneath the surface. Mara put Nia down behind a concrete support. She had no gun, no armor, nothing but the canvas backpack. The probe advanced. Mara opened the bag. Inside were city maintenance tools, a flare pistol, and 3 induction clamps used to restart dead power lines. She grabbed a clamp and slapped it onto the metal pipe running along the wall. The probe fired again. Concrete burst beside her face. Mara connected the second clamp to a submerged cable. Daniel surfaced, gasping. Mara, don't! She touched the leads together. The tunnel became white fire. The charge passed through the water, up the probe's metal limbs, and into its core. It convulsed once and collapsed. Mara woke on her back with smoke rising from her sweater. Her hands would not close. Daniel was dragging her out of the water. Nia knelt beside her, crying. You got hurt because of me. Mara tried to sit up. No, she said through chattering teeth. I got hurt because they sent a machine into a tunnel full of children. There's only me. Mara looked at her. That's still full. On the Sovereign Blade, Theron watched the probe's final recording twice. The human had electrocuted herself without hesitation. She had no way to know the charge would be survivable. She had acted before the machine fully unfolded its weapon. Cale dismissed the recording. Primitive reflex. She nearly died. Many animals become violent when defending young. Theron faced him. She did not give birth to the vessel. Cale's jaw tightened. Stop calling it a child. That was the moment Theron understood that Cale was afraid. Not annoyed, not politically pressured. Afraid. He had watched the Lord Protector negotiate border famines, crush mutinies, and order ships into burning atmospheres. Cale did not fear fleets. He did not fear assassination. But every time Nia was called a child, fear passed behind his eyes. "Show me the archive warrant," Theron said. Cale went still. "For the retrieval," Theron continued. "A vessel carrying sovereign memory requires a sealed warrant from 3 keepers. You showed me the military authorization, but not the archive order. You are relieved of operational review. Then place me under arrest." The bridge quieted. Cale stepped close enough that only Theron could hear him. 30 years ago, he said, your mother was executed for sedition. Theron felt the old wound open. She died naming you loyal. Cale continued. Her final memory was sealed. You were permitted to command because the continuity believed you had rejected her disgrace. Do not make us reconsider. Theron held his gaze. What does that have to do with Nia? Everything, if you continue asking. Cale walked away. Do you know? The family asked him. Theron remained at the center of the bridge, while officers pretended not to see him. His mother had died when he was 9. He remembered guards taking her from their home. He remembered her kneeling to place a hand against his witness lines. Nothing had transferred. That was what the officials told him. She had died empty. Yet for 30 years he had dreamed of white rooms and stars beneath glass. Below them, the hunt tightened. Mara, Nia, and Daniel emerged from the storm system inside an abandoned subway station. A human defense unit waited there with a dozen civilians and a field medic. Their commander was Lieutenant Imani Cross, a compact woman with soot across her face. We have transport, Cross said. The government is moving Nia to a secure site. Where? Mara asked. I don't know. Then how do you know it's the government? Cross almost smiled. Your brother said you'd ask that. She handed Mara a paper note. It contained 4 words in President Holt's handwriting. The promise still stands. Mara had seen those words once before, at the asylum hearing when Earth formally accepted Nia. The president had knelt in front of the terrified child and promised that no one would force her to carry a dead civilization's secrets before she was ready. Mara folded the note. What's the plan? Move west under blackout. Reach the old neutrino lab in South Dakota. Its medical equipment may be able to read the witness organ safely. Nia recoiled. No. No one will force you, Mara said. Cross looked toward the tunnel entrance. If we don't know why they want her, we can't end this. She said no. Mara, they've landed on 6 continents. She still said no. The soldiers around them shifted uneasily. Cities were burning. Friends were dying. A child's refusal suddenly weighed against a planet. Nia saw it in their faces. I'll do it, she whispered. Mara crouched in front of her. Do you want to? No. Then that's not a choice. Cross's expression hardened. The president's promise may cost millions of lives. Then it costs millions, Daniel said. Everyone turned to him. He leaned against the tiled wall, his damaged prosthetic locked at the knee. A promise that only survives when it's easy isn't a promise. It's advertising. A siren wailed above ground. Cross looked at Mia for a long moment. Then she removed the insignia from her jacket and tucked it into a pocket. All right, she said. We get her somewhere safe. We find another way. That decision changed the war. Not because anyone in the subway station understood its importance, but because one of the soldiers transmitted Cross's words over an open emergency channel. Civilians heard it. Then military units heard it. Then people on occupied worlds beyond Earth heard it. The Rill had invaded for a memory. The humans were dying to protect the mind carrying it. Across the galactic compact, old questions began waking up. Why had so many Rill dissidents disappeared over the previous century? Why were witness records available only through state keepers? Why had the continuity forbidden children from traveling abroad? And why had a senior archivist fled to Earth with his daughter? Kale responded by cutting Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. Rill cruisers destroyed 3 relay stations and jammed civilian channels. Then, he ordered the capture of Mara Vance's school. The children had reached their parents, but the building was not empty. Principal Ada Brooks had remained behind with 2 injured staff members. When real soldiers entered, they found her sitting at her desk beneath a row of construction paper stars. "Where is the vessel?" their captain demanded. Brooks looked over her glasses. "Her name is Nia." The captain placed a weapon on the desk. "Where is she?" "I don't know." "You supervise the Guardian. I supervise 43 teachers. Most of them ignore me when it matters." The captain activated the recorder. "By authority of the continuity, concealment of sovereign material carries punishment extending to family lines." Brooks looked at the weapon, then at the soldier. "You cross the stars," she said, "and you still think threatening someone's family makes them less dangerous." The captain struck her. He did not know the school's security system was streaming through an emergency mesh built by teenage radio operators. He did not know the video escaped the planetary jamming field hidden inside routine weather telemetry. He did not know Commander Theron Vey would see it before Kale's sensors could erase it. Theron watched the old woman lift her bleeding face and smile. "You're never finding that little girl," she said. The captain raised his weapon again. Theron closed the recording. "Trace the source," he ordered. His intelligence officer hesitated. "The Lord Protector classified all retrieval data. I am still Fleet Commander. For now." Theron looked at him. The officer lowered his voice. "I found the archive warrant. It was issued 2 days after we departed real space. Forged? Properly signed, but one of the 3 keepers died 6 months ago." Theron felt the deck shift beneath him, though the ship had not moved. "Who signed for him?" "The Central Witness System." A machine had invoked the authority of a dead man. For a civilization built on preserved memory, there was no greater violation. "Open a private channel to the human president," Theron said. The officer's eyes widened. "That is treason." "No, treason is loyalty to a lie." President Holt answered from a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. Dust covered her desk. "You have 30 seconds, she said. Theron sent her the warrant. "We were deceived," he said. "Kale's authority is unlawful. Will your fleet withdraw?" "I cannot prove the forgery to my crews. The Lord Protector controls our witness network. Then why contact me?" "Because Mia's father may have hidden proof inside her." Holt's expression turned cold. "You will not touch her." "I am not asking to. I am asking you to let me speak to her guardian. You invaded her city. Yes, you killed her people. Yes, and now you want her trust." Theron looked at Earth on the display beside her face. "No," he said. "I want the chance to deserve her refusal." The president was silent. Then she gave him a frequency. Mara did not believe the voice in her earpiece belonged to the real commander. She and the others were riding in a freight truck beneath layers of thermal shielding. Nia slept with her head in Mara's lap. Daniel sat opposite, repairing the joints of his prosthetic with wire and a pocket knife. "You have 1 minute," Mara said. Theron told her about the forged warrant and his mother's sealed memory. "You expect sympathy?" she asked. "No." "Good. I expect pattern recognition." "My mother and Nia's father worked in the continuity archives a generation apart. Both were accused of treason. Both had access to the central witness system. Both left memories connected to white rooms and stars beneath glass." Mara glanced down at Nia. "What are the white rooms?" "I don't know. Officially, they do not exist. Why does Kale want her?" I believe her father discovered that the continuity has altered witness memory. Mara's anger sharpened into a tension. Theron continued, Our law assumes final memory cannot be changed. If that is false, every trial, succession, and treaty in real history could be questioned. So Kale is protecting his government. Perhaps he believes he is protecting civilization. If the truth is released without preparation, my people may tear themselves apart. And that makes invasion reasonable? No. It makes it understandable. Those are not the same thing. The truck slowed. Daniel looked toward the cab. Checkpoint. Mara lowered her voice. Can you stop your soldiers? Not without revealing my position. So reveal it. If Kale removes me, you lose the only commander who doubts him. If you stay silent, we lose the child. Theron did not answer. Mara heard voices outside. The truck doors rattled as real troops scanned the cargo. Commander, she whispered, this is the part where loyalty costs you something. Theron closed his eyes. Then he opened a fleet-wide channel. All forces in Sector 8, withdraw immediately. Civilian extraction operations are suspended by my authority. Kale answered within seconds. Countermanded. Commander Vey is relieved. Theron had known it would happen. Knowing did not soften the words. Security officers entered the bridge. His own intelligence officer drew a sidearm and stepped between them. Go, the officer said. Theron stared at him. You wanted the order to matter, the officer said. Make it matter. The checkpoint troops received two conflicting commands. For 11 seconds, they did nothing. 11 seconds was enough. Daniel kicked open the truck side panel, cross-fired 2 smoke grenades. Mara wrapped Nia in a thermal blanket and ran into a drainage ditch as human defenders attacked from the tree line. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Lieutenant Cross died in the first. She held the road with 3 soldiers while the truck's passengers escaped into the forest. Real armor cut through trees. The ground flashed blue with plasma impacts. Mara ran until her lungs burned, carrying Nia while Dano stumbled beside her. A blast struck him in the back. He fell without a sound. Mara turned. Daniel lay face down among wet leaves. His prosthetic leg had been torn away. Real soldiers advanced through smoke behind him. Nia pulled at Mara's neck. Go back. Mara had promised the president she would keep the child safe. Daniel had chosen to protect them. Every rational part of her screamed that turning back would waste his sacrifice. Then Daniel moved one hand. Mara set Nia behind a fallen tree and ran toward him. She reached her brother as a real soldier raised his weapon. Mara threw herself over Daniel. The shot never came. A figure in a black commander's uniform struck the soldier from behind. Theron Vey had reached the ground in a command shuttle with 6 loyal officers. He fired over Mara's shoulder, forcing the patrol into cover. Can he move? He asked. Mara looked at the alien who had led the invasion of her world. You. Yes. She wanted to kill him. She wanted to claw through his uniform and make him feel every terrified child in that school. Then another plasma burst tore apart the tree beside Nia. Hatred could wait. Help me lift him, she said. Theron did. They escaped through the forest, while his officers delayed the patrol. By sunset, only 3 remained alive. They reached an abandoned farmhouse near the Iowa border. Daniel was feverish and barely conscious. The real blast had cauterized the wound, but driven fragments of his prosthetic into his hip. The commander had removed his armor. Without it, he looked older and smaller. A cut ran from his temple to his jaw. Nia studied the witness lines on his neck. You have the White Room too, she said. Theron froze. You can see that? She nodded. It's behind your eyes. Mara stopped working. Theron moved closer, slowly enough not to frighten her. Nia, did your father ever say the name Lissa Vey? The child frowned. Then her body went rigid. Silver light raced down the lines behind her ears. Theron cried out. His own witness marks answered, burning beneath his skin. He fell to his knees as a memory moved between them. Not Nia's memory, not his. A dead man stood in a white room, beneath a ceiling filled with artificial stars. Rows of real children slept under glass. Fine silver threads connected their witness organs to a central machine. Alan's soul moved between them, recording what he saw. A voice spoke beside him. A woman's voice. Lissa Vey. The rebellions are spreading, she said. The keepers cannot erase every witness. They don't need to, Sol answered. Only the first generation. Children trust inherited memory more than living testimony. On the other side of the glass, machines pulled fear, faces, and final words from sleeping minds. They adjusted them. A murdered dissident became a terrorist, killed while attacking guards. A famine caused by state seizure became a natural disaster. A treaty broken by the continuity became an alien betrayal. History was not being erased. It was being trained. Theron saw his mother place a hand on a data core. If they catch us, they'll take my final memory. Then don't give it to the archive, Sol said. I have a son. He's 9. He'll grow. We've gone. I can't believe in the selfish case. I have a son. He'll grow. Lissa looked directly toward the memory recorder, as if she could see Theron 30 years later. I'm sorry, she whispered. You will spend most of your life believing I abandoned you. That is the only way you may live long enough to learn I did not. The memory shattered. Theron awoke on the farmhouse floor with Nia's small hand pressed against his neck. He was crying. Mara held the child, ready to pull her away. What happened? She demanded. Theron could barely form the words. Her father didn't carry the proof alone. He divided it among the children whose memories had been altered. Nia carries the index. My mother carried the key. Then you can expose Kale. Theron shook his head. Not from here. The proof is distributed across millions of witness organs. The index must connect to the lunar transmitters. Daniel opened his eyes. What lunar transmitters? Theron looked at him. The ones your government pretends are debris monitors. No one spoke. Theron had seen the construction records years earlier. When humanity joined the compact, it had taken responsibility for tracking dangerous objects in nearby systems. Humans built transmitters on moons, stations, and dead satellites. The network was considered useful but unimportant, a public service no ambitious species wanted to fund. But witness organs communicated through a related quantum resonance. Missa and Sol had hidden the truth in a form that could only be awakened by a network wide enough to reach an entire civilization. Humanity's harmless debris system was the only network ever built with that reach. Mara understood first. That's why Sol went to a human embassy. Theron nodded. He did not choose Earth because you were strong enough to protect Nia. He chose you because you had already built the machine that could free his people. A low rumble passed over the farmhouse. Real gunships. Kale had found them. Theron moved to the window. Black shapes crossed the sunset. We need to reach a transmitter, Mara said. The main control center is under your moon's southern basin. Earth stations can access it, but Kale will monitor them. Daniel pushed himself upright, face gray with pain. There's an emergency uplink in Chicago. Mara stared at him. He managed a weak smile. The school district hosts a backup node. Debris alerts were tied into public safety systems after the meteor scare. Where? Your school? The gunship circled. Theron looked toward Nia. Kale knows the index is activated. He will stop at nothing now. Mia stood. She looked small beneath the farmhouse table, still wearing one muddy shoe and clutching the red crayon she had somehow kept since the invasion began. If we show everybody, she asked, will they stop fighting? Theron could not lie to her. Some will, some may fight more. Will your people hate me? Some will. She looked at Mara. Will you? Never. Nia took a breath. Then I want to go to school. They left the farmhouse seconds before real troops surrounded it. Human resistance had changed during the second night. Organized armies were fragmented, but millions of civilians now fed information through local networks. A farmer hid Mara's group inside a grain hauler. Railway workers moved them through a freight yard. Teenagers flying homemade drones mapped patrols ahead. A surgeon in a basement clinic removed metal from Daniel's wound and refused payment. No one asked whether one child was worth the danger. They asked what else was needed. Theron watched with growing disbelief. Real society was organized through inherited obligation. Every citizen knew which line they served and which memories bound them. Humans appeared disordered by comparison. They argued with every instruction. They distrusted authority. They changed plans constantly. Yet when the purpose was clear, they cooperated without waiting to be commanded. Their unity was not obedience. It was consent renewed by every choice. That made it slower than the continuity. It also made it almost impossible to cut off at the head. By the time they reached Chicago, Cale controlled the city center. Real armor blocked the bridges. The Sovereign Blade hung over the lake, dark enough to hide stars. Mara's school stood inside the occupation zone. President Holt contacted them through an encrypted radio. "We can create a diversion," she said. "Our remaining orbital craft will attack the flagship." Theron shook his head. "They will be destroyed." "Yes." "No," Mara said. The president looked surprised. "You're not trading more lives for our route," Mara continued. "There has to be another way. We are out of time. No, we're out of easy options." Mia sat beside her, drawing on the back of a military map. Mara looked at the red lines spreading across the page. A memory surfaced. Construction paper stars, children changing coats, real scanners chasing 6 groups at once. "The fleet can track a witness order now, right?" Mara asked. Theron nodded. "At close range. How precisely?" "Within 3 meters." Mara looked at Daniel. He understood and began to smile. An hour later, every hospital in Chicago transmitted the same request. Real medical teams had treated wounded civilians in several occupied cities, part of Cale's effort to present the invasion as lawful correction. Human doctors now requested portable witness scanners, claiming the technology could help identify neurological damage caused by real weapons. Cale approved the distribution. He needed the population passive. Within minutes, copies of Nia's activated resonance pattern appeared in medical networks across the city. Humans attached the transmitters to ambulances, trains, delivery drones, police vehicles, and stray dogs wearing borrowed harnesses. The real tracking grid filled with Nias. Thousands of them. Cale ordered checkpoints closed. Human crowds moved into the streets. Some carried signs with Nia's face. Others wore silver paint behind their ears. The occupation forces could no longer identify the child without searching everyone, and everyone refused to move. Mara's group entered the city in an ambulance carrying 6 genuine patients. Theron lay beneath a sheet beside Daniel. Nia wore a paramedic's jacket and sat on Mara's lap. At the final checkpoint, a real guard opened the rear doors. His scanner screamed with Nia's signal from every direction. He looked exhausted. Then he recognized Theron. The commander pulled back the sheet. The guard's weapon rose. Theron said, "My mother's name is Lissa Vey." The guard stopped. Every real knew that name. Traitor, murderer, enemy of Mebury. Theron pressed 2 fingers to his witness lines and transferred a fragment of the white room. The guard staggered as the truth entered him. When he opened his eyes, he lowered the weapon. "How many?" he whispered. "All of us," Theron said. The guard stepped aside. It was the first fracture in Cale's army. It was not the last. They reached the school before dawn. The building had been damaged in the first bombardment. Windows were boarded, The west wing had collapsed. Paper stars still hung in Mara's classroom, stirring in cold air. Nia stopped at her desk and picked up the unfinished drawing she had left behind. It showed Mara, Daniel, and Mia standing beneath a red sun. Theron moved to the wall terminal. Daniel opened the maintenance panel beneath it. "The emergency uplink is routed through the basement," Daniel said. "We need power." "The grid is dead," Mara said. "Backup generator. Flooded." Daniel looked at her burned hands. "Not doing that again," he said. They moved downstairs. Outside, the crowd thickened. Tens of thousands surrounded the school, blocking every road. Humans carried no military formation and no common uniform. Parents stood beside soldiers. Nurses stood beside mechanics. Children sat on shoulders holding hand-drawn signs. Kale's gunships arrived overhead. His voice rolled from Latin beyond the fight of driving civilization. "Is it possible? The school contains a weapon capable of destroying the legal foundation of the continuity." The crowd did not move. "It carries altered memory. Exposure may cause neurological damage." Still, no one moved. Then Principal Brooks stepped through the school's front doors. Her face was bruised, one arm hung in a sling. She had escaped real custody during a power failure and spent a day walking back. She stood at the top of the steps. "It's a school," she shouted. "You'll need a better lie than 'children are dangerous.'" Rail soldiers lowered their weapons toward the crowd. Inside the basement, Daniel started the generator. Lights flickered to life. Theron connected the uplink. The lunar network answered. Then, every screen turned black. Kale appeared. "You have caused enough death," he told Theron. "You caused it. I prevented worse. You have seen the old wars. Rill killed Rill for 600 years because memory became accusation. The continuity ended that, by rewriting the dead, by giving the living a future." Nia stepped into view. Kale's expression changed. For the first time, Mara saw not just fear, but grief. "I knew your father," he said to the child. "He was brilliant. He could not understand that truth without order is only another weapon." "He said you would be scared," Nia replied. Kale flinched. Theron saw it. "You were with him in the White Room." "I built the first correction system," Kale said. "I watched children wake screaming with memories of massacres committed centuries before their birth. I watched families murder one another for crimes no living person had chosen. We gave those children peace. You gave them obedience." He believed it. Kale had not crossed 11 light years because he hated a child. He had come because one child could return the pain he had spent his life burying. "You're right about one thing," Mara said. Kale turned toward her. "Truth can be a weapon. That's why you don't get to put it in a child's hand and force her to fire." She knelt beside Nia. "This is your memory, your choice. If you want to stop, we stop." Theron stared at her. Outside, gunships aimed at the building. Earth's defenses were failing. Billions of lives depended on what happened next, and the human still gave the child a choice. Nia looked at Kale. "Did you kill my father?" Silence filled the basement. Kale could have lied. He did not. "I ordered his arrest." He resisted. "That isn't what I asked." Kale closed his eyes. "Yes." Nia's witness lines shone. Mara held out her hand, but did not touch her. The child took it. "I want everyone to see," Mia said. "But not because I hate him." "Why then?" Mara asked. "So nobody has to drink alone." Theron activated the uplink. Kale gave the order to fire. The first blast tore through the roof. Mara threw herself over Nia as the ceiling came down. Theron dragged the uplink cable away from falling concrete. Daniel held the generator line together with both hands while sparks burned through his gloves. Outside, real soldiers faced the crowd, their weapons charged. The guard from the checkpoint stepped in front of his unit. "My mother dreamed of the White Room," he said. His captain ordered him aside. He refused. One soldier joined him. Then another. Across the city, fragments of forbidden memory passed from witness organ to witness organ. Theron's loyal officers transmitted what they had seen. The truth moved imperfectly, emotionally, alive. Some real rejected it. Some screamed. Some raised their weapons against their own commanders. And some simply sat down. Kale's gunship fired again. The school's upper floor vanished in flame. In the basement, the uplink reached 90%. Then, the generator failed. Darkness swallowed the room. Daniel lay beside the dead machine, smoke rising from his hands. Nia's silver lines began to fade. Daniel looked toward the old electrical conduit running into the floor. "The city rail loop," he whispered. "Third rail still has emergency current." "It's 6 blocks away," Mara said. "Same flood control circuit. Manual transfer box in the gym." Theron lifted Nia. Mara and Daniel moved toward the stairs. They reached the ground floor as soldiers broke through the north entrance. Principal Brooks and dozens of civilians poured in through the south, filling hallways with bodies. Mara led the others into the gym. The transfer box was behind the bleachers. Daniel tore it open. "No remote switch," he said. "Someone has to hold the contacts closed." "How long?" "Until the transmission finishes." "What happens to the person holding them?" Daniel did not answer. Mara saw the copper arms inside the box. She remembered the tunnel, the white flash, waking with Nia crying over her. She stepped forward. Daniel caught her wrist. "No, you can barely stand. You have a classroom to come back to." "So do you." "I teach emergency planning to city employees. They hate me." Despite everything, Mara laughed once. A broken sound. Daniel touched his forehead to hers. "Mum made me promise to look after you," he said. "You were 11. I take promises seriously." "So do I." A plasma shot struck the gym doors. Theron set Nia down and drew his weapon. "There may be another way." "There isn't," Daniel said. Mia looked from the transfer box to Daniel's metal leg lying uselessly strapped at his side. Then she pulled the red crayon from her pocket. "Metal carries electricity," she said. Daniel followed her gaze. His prosthetic was built from titanium, carbon fiber, and conductive control mesh. He tore it free, jammed its upper contacts between the copper arms, and locked the knee joint. The circuit slammed shut. Power roared through the artificial leg. Metal glowed red. The gym lights exploded. In the basement, the uplink reached full strength. Nia's memory entered the moon. At 4:13 in the morning, every weapon in the invasion fleet went blind. The lunar transmitters did not seize real systems. They called to the witness organs of every rill aboard them. Millions of hidden fragments answered. Memories bloomed across ship networks. White rooms, altered testimony, stolen childhoods, executions renamed as accidents, war started by forged grief. The central witness system tried to suppress them. Human debris software interpreted the suppression as a hazardous collision pattern and isolated every connected machine. Targeting systems shut down. Navigation transferred to lunar guidance. 200 warships began turning away from Earth. On the bridge of the Sovereign Blade, Kale watched his empire lose its most powerful weapon: certainty. Mara's recorded face appeared on the screen, blood on her cheek, the gym doors shaking behind her. "You can still go home, Commander. You just can't take my daughter." Then Lizavey's voice whispered through the speakers. "Witness recognized." Theron stood inside the ruined gym when he heard his mother. Real soldiers had broken through the doors, but their weapons were dead. Some clutched their heads as inherited memories returned. Others stared at Nia, as if seeing a child for the first time. The school shook. Without active guidance, one of Kale's damaged cruisers had entered the atmosphere. It appeared through the shattered roof, a burning shape falling toward Chicago. Human warning systems estimated impact in 4 minutes. The city had no time to evacuate. Theron contacted the Sovereign Blade. Restore control to the cruiser. The lunar network refused. The ship remained classified as hostile. Kale appeared on a surviving wall screen. "Release my fleet," he said. "Your cruiser will hit the city," Theron replied. "Then, release my fleet." Mara understood. The network required a human authorization to restore control. But once released, Kale's weapons would return with it. He could save the city and regain the invasion. Or humanity could keep the fleet helpless and let millions die. Kale expected them to choose survival. He still did not understand them. "Give him control," Mara said. Theron stared at her. "He will fire again. Maybe. Not maybe." He crossed the stars to bury this truth. The burning cruiser grew larger overhead. Mara looked at Nia. The child was exhausted, barely able to stand. "What happens if it hits?" Nia asked. "The city dies," Daniel said. "Are there real children on the ships?" Theron nodded slowly. "Crew families, apprentices." "Yes." Nia looked at Mara. "Then give them back." Kale heard her through the open channel. His face changed. Not because the child had surrendered. She had not. Because she had chosen to trust the people who killed her father with the power to hurt her again. Mara opened the emergency authorization screen. President Holt appeared beside it. "Mara, if you release those ships, we have no remaining defense. I know. We cannot order this. I know." The president looked at Nia. The child touched the silver lines behind her ears. "My father put the truth in me because he thought somebody would protect it. Miss Vance says protecting somebody doesn't mean owning their choices." She looked up, through the broken roof, at the falling ship. "I choose not to make more children remember fire." President Holt closed her eyes. Then she entered her authorization. The lunar network released the Rill fleet. Weapons came alive. Engines ignited across the sky. The Sovereign Blade fired its main batteries toward Earth. Mara pulled Nia close. Beams of white energy passed over Chicago and struck the falling cruiser, not to destroy it, but to push it. The burning ship rolled away from the city. Rill vessels surrounded it, shaping gravity, bleeding away speed. It crossed the shoreline low enough to turn night into day, then crashed into Lake Michigan. A wall of water rose beyond the city. Human flood barriers deployed. Rill shuttles descended and added their shields. The waves struck in a roar that shattered miles of windows, but the barriers held. Then, every weapon in the Rill fleet powered down again. This time, the humans had not done it. Rill crews had. On the flagship, officers turned away from Lord Protector Kale. His guard removed his command seal. Kale did not resist. Theron met him hours later on school steps. Dawn colored the lake copper. Fires burned along the skyline. Human medics worked beside Rill healers in the street. The crowd had parted to let the former Lord Protector pass. Kale looked old without his uniform cloak. "You think mercy proves you were right," he said to Mara. "No," she replied. "Mercy isn't proof. It's a risk." "You returned our fleet because a child asked. We returned your choice." Kale looked toward Nia, who sat on the steps beside Daniel. The ruined prosthetic lay across her knees, its metal warped around the red crayon that had fallen into the joint and melted there. "I was trying to prevent a war," Kale said. Theron stood beside him. "There may still be one." "Then what did any of this save?" Nia answered before anyone else could. "Who we are when it starts." Kale lowered his head. The occupation ended that morning. The consequences lasted for years. Why? The real continuity did not collapse, though many expected it to. Some worlds rejected the recovered memories. Others opened their archives and found generations of carefully arranged lies. Protests became elections in one system and civil conflict in another. Statues fell. Trials reopened. Families learned that their inherited enemies had once been friends. Theron returned home to testify against Kale and the surviving keepers. He carried his mother's true final memory openly. Not everyone forgave him for leading the invasion. He did not ask them to. When offered command of a reformed defense fleet, he refused. Instead, he became the first elected guardian of the unsealed archive, where no memory could be accessed without the consent of the living person carrying it. Kale spent the rest of his life helping identify records he had altered. Some called that redemption. Others called it punishment. He called it counting the children. Earth buried 12,000 dead. There was no clean victory parade. Too many streets still carried blast marks. Too many families had empty chairs. President Holt faced hearings over the decision to return control of the fleet. She defended it with the same sentence every time. We did not save Earth by trusting the Rill. We saved Earth by refusing to let fear make our decisions for us. Daniel received the new prosthetic from a joint human-Rill medical team. It was faster, stronger, and completely insulated. Nia decorated it with red stars. Principal Brooks rebuilt the school before the government finished rebuilding its local command center. When officials questioned her priorities, she told them command centers existed to protect schools, not the other way around. Mara returned to her classroom. For months, Nia could not sleep without the hallway light on. She startled when ships crossed the sky. Some days, she hated the silver lines behind her ears. Some days, she asked Mara whether her father had known what his choice would cost. Mara never pretended to know. He trusted you with something heavy, she said. That doesn't mean you have to carry it every minute. So Nia learned to set it down. She played soccer badly. She grew sunflowers in paper cups. She argued with Owen about whether dinosaurs could survive on low-gravity worlds. She visited real children through the new cultural exchange and taught them a human game in which everyone hid and one person had to find them. The real children disliked the game at first. Their society had taught them that being hidden meant being erased. Nia taught them the last part. When someone found you, they shouted your name, and you ran home together. Years later, the Galactic Compact added a new law to every asylum treaty. It was only one sentence long. No memory, inheritance, government, or civilization could claim ownership of a child. The law became known across 1,000 worlds as Nia's promise. But on Earth, the story was remembered differently. Humans did not say an empire invaded for a secret, or that a fleet was defeated by a moon, or that history changed because the dead finally spoke. They said frightened people came for one little girl, and an entire planet stood between her and the door. Because humanity's most dangerous word had never been war, it was ours.